I'm a recovering addict named Bonnie. Hi. And so I think it's important to do a little bit of a backdrop as well. I got clean in 1980. I got married in 1982, and I had my first child in 1983. My head hadn't popped out of my ass yet. Okay? Like really. I was just, I wasn't even fully whole or wholly full at all. And so here I am, 27 years old, 28 years old, and I have this baby that I knew nothing, that I had no clue. I was the only child. Both my parents were addicts. I married an addict, and in the process of all this, if you know your history, in the early 80s, NA was starting to boom. There was a lot of work to be done, and we were up against a lot. And I was really very fortunate to be blessed to have gotten a clear message of Narcotics Anonymous. And I was committed to NA. And none of my issues were coming up yet about where I came from as far as emotionally or spiritually from my family. So my family of origin stuff wasn't up. I had soon learned afterwards, in the process of raising my first daughter, who is 37 now and 10 years clean, and has her own child. But I soon learned that through talking to some people outside the rooms at that time, back in the 80s, that emotionally, however old your child is, it will trigger emotional issues that you had at that same age. Well, I have photographs of me still being in a crib with holes punched in the wall, because my dad was on Emo in World War II and came back from the war and never had any help. So that's kind of where I was at an early age. All right, so I knew violence, and I knew yelling and screaming. I still laugh. I can laugh about some things today. Like, I grew up in an Italian neighborhood, and if you're at somebody's house, it would be nothing for the mother to throw a shoe across the room, or take a wooden spoon after you, or all that stuff. So here I am in recovery, trying to get meetings going, areas started, being involved in a literature process, going right into the jail cell, doing H&I, and I have a baby at home. Okay, and this baby, I loved her. I mean, I prayed this child in, and I just wanted, I had this image, because I was so immature when I got clean. I had this image about getting married, and the house, and the car, and the picket fence, and I'm just not that woman. But I didn't know that, because I had bought into the whole whatever society was dictating. In the meantime, I'm a street addict in the rooms of Narcotics Anonymous getting clean, and I have no tools. Oh, I knew how not to use, and I could tell you, and I still say this, don't use no matter what. Go to meetings, but I was part of a movement of Narcotics Anonymous of getting this whole foundation going. I was more about keeping the doors open and all that. I breastfed, and I had the cloth diapers, and I organically grew my own food and made baby food. And, my ex now, but the father of my child, was off and to his political lifestyle. And I put both my kids through hell. My half-sister primarily raised me as a child. I would go back and forth because I would be left alone in a crib for days until somebody would come and get me and take me and take care of me, or my half-sister, my aunt, would come in and get me. So here I am, with this child, and I knew nothing, but I did the best that I could and what I thought. The stuff that I read. I mean, I read the books. I mean, I had my child, I had her natural. I read these books, but it was here. It wasn't even here in my heart, emotionally. And I was good for a long time until, and I know I'm talking about children, but I'll get to the grandchild. So I had no idea about this. And so my issues started coming up probably about 7 or 8 years clean of childhood stuff, but it was coming out the side of my neck. You know, I wasn't really understanding. And I already was edgy because I had to stand up for Narcotics Anonymous in an AA fellowship, you know, where I got clean in Butler, Pennsylvania. I mean, they were telling us that we're a third wheel, and, you know, if you had Bonnie as a sponsor, you weren't going to get clean. And there was a lot of arguing. There was a lot of conflict in the 80s with NA and AA. And so what would happen, I would be emotionally charged that would kick in the cells of my dad's rage within my body. And my daughter was like an inconvenience if she was crying and needing, you know, and needing stuff. So, you know, and my ex and I really didn't know what we were doing. On the outside, I think it looked like we were pretty cool, hip parents, but emotionally, like I didn't even know how to be there for her. And I colored, I mean, don't get me wrong, like we did a lot of cool things, you know, a lot of cool things. But where it really came is when she started using. So I was I went from Pennsylvania to Florida, and I was part of starting a new region down in Florida, and on a convention committee and doing all these things. My girls would stay with their dad on the weekend because I had service work to do. You know, and if I had to take my girls with me to service work, there was a sleeping bag over there with their toys and their stuff. Okay, and they were over there while I was doing service work. Now, at that time, it sounded like really cool, right? I'd take my girls in my backpack. My oldest daughter, she'd be in my backpack, and we'd walk to meetings and stuff. One day, I had this epiphany of what was the difference between my daughters being on that sleeping bag and me being in the bar. They were not in bed at 8 or 9 or 10 o'clock. They were with me at night. And they were learning the same dysfunction that I was passing on to them, even though it was for the highest good, right? It was all this Narcotics Anonymous and service stuff. So let's fast forward. When my oldest daughter started using, my daughters are 5 years apart. And so when my oldest daughter started using, I was at a convention, and I kid you not, their dad was supposed to pick them up on a Friday. My one daughter, the youngest one, went with me. Because my girls were raised here. They had to clean. I was clean. I was in recovery when I had them. And she hid, so she didn't go with him. And she hid in the house, and he didn't go in we were already divorced, and he didn't go in the house together, you know, to pick her up. And when I came home, there were 6-inch gouges of tire tracks in my front yard in Naples. And I walked in the house. There was no air conditioning going. And she was sitting there leafing through, and it was humid in my house. And she's leafing through a magazine. Oh, hi, Mom, how you doing? I said, what's going on? Nothing, why? I said, where's the air conditioning? I don't know. I thought it was pretty hot in here. Well, when I walked in my bedroom had been ransacked. By this time, I'm 8 years clean. No, longer than that. 14, 15 years clean. And everything of value that I worked hard for was gone. My drawers were, ransacked. First of all, I found out that she had huffed the Freon. So I go into panic. How did that panic come out? In rage. Because I didn't know how to deal with that. I was so fearful for her life. And then here's all my stuff that I worked hard for, gone. And now I have my 4 or 5-year-old freaked out. She's in a panic. So I called the police 3 days in a row to come help because we found all kind of paraphernalia in her bedroom. And they said, well, unless we see her using it, we can't do anything. Well, the Marine father that I had came out, and his daughter, me. Well, what are you going to do when she's dead? Are you going to tell me that? There's nothing that you can freaking do? I lost my shit. And I lost my shit for years after that. Because I went somewhere within myself that was unfamiliar. I was just in panic mode. Every day for about a week, my house was broken into. And my daughter, my youngest daughter, was a latchkey kid for 10 minutes. When she came home, you know, the house had been broken into more. And whatever was left, there was not much left. And there was a lot of stuff that was taken. And their dad at the time was like, well, she has a right to her privacy, you know, because of his political beliefs. She has a right to this. And so well, let's just fast forward. So that set the stage for me being in a totally, I would sit in the meetings and all I wanted to do was lay in the middle of the room in a fetal position and cry so that you could see my pain, because there was such a powerlessness that it made me unmanageable. That type of powerlessness, knowing your kid is out there doing the same thing that you did and maybe more, was unbearable as a mother. And so, like, I had worked the steps a couple of times through already. The only thing I knew to do was get into a serious meditation circle outside the rooms. Prayer and meditation. It's the only thing I knew to do. I had beat her. I put 3 bad beatings on my daughter because I just lost my shit. I'm not proud of it. I've apologized for it. She needs to go get help so she can learn to forgive me, but I can't keep wearing it because it just about killed me. I've lost the same 50 pounds over guilt and shame over and over again. I felt horrible. I feel bad that it scarred her. There's nothing I can do about it. I have to work my own program, and I had to forgive myself. So let's fast forward. So we went from Pennsylvania to Florida, and now we're in North Carolina. I live in Asheville, North Carolina. So what does my youngest daughter, my youngest daughter watches her older sister. I'm an only child. I know nothing about this sibling stuff and people fighting and kids fighting and tearing each other apart and all this. So she's more of a criminal mind addict than she is the using, but now she's full blown. So we move up to North Carolina, and my youngest daughter gets pregnant with her first child, who's 12 now. And my oldest daughter is hitting her bottom. So she eventually gets clean and does her thing, and I'm very proud of her. She's got 10 years clean. It's a good feeling. There are those unresolved issues where we just show up for each other and we work through it. My youngest daughter, however, she has got into a lifestyle that is unfamiliar to me. You know, her disease has taken her in places that I only went to for 5 minutes to get what I needed and left. And so I'm having to understand a whole new level of powerlessness again. So she has her second child, and I'm engaged to be married, and she has her second child. Now, I got to tell you something. When I got clean, I'm all about total abstinence. I'm not about drug replacement therapy. I'm not about that. Yes, I understand it. Please don't even try to preach to me. I understand it, but this is Narcotics Anonymous, and we're a program of total abstinence. Everybody is welcome, and hopefully you'll get clean. But until you're off everything, you're not clean. Okay. Well, guess what? It's in my face daily, because my youngest child bought into all of it, and she has people in the rooms that just feed her. Okay, when she was in Asheville. So she has this baby, and this baby, I was there for all 4 of my grandchildren's birth. You know, I practically took every breath with them. If my oldest daughter, her husband was there, but I took every breath with my youngest daughter, with all 3 of her kids. And this baby within seconds was like, withdrawal. It's horrible to see a baby going through withdrawal, and the screams, the sounds that they make are, I don't even have a word for it. It's gut gut-wrenching, and he can't do anything because they have to go through withdrawal. You know, they get put on stuff so that they can later be withdrawn from it, so that they don't die. And when she brought my granddaughter home, she brought her to my house, and my ex-fiance at the time just couldn't deal with it, so he left. I was at the tail end of hepatitis C treatment, and I was in bad shape. She was in bad shape, and so I ended up moving out of my home that I had been in for 7 years, and Children and Family Services got involved, and they took her, and they brought her to me at 10 months old, at 57 years old. And not only was I picking up the pieces of my broken heart, because this man that I was engaged to was my 9-year-old sweetheart. We had known each other all our lives. And there were aspects about us that fit like a glove. He was the most familiar being outside of my mom and dad in my life. And he was gone, you know. And I don't resent him for it. He has his own path. It was just me. So I have this 10-month-old. I didn't have a crib. I didn't have a diaper. I was picking my own stuff up. And this is where another level of heartbreak happens. So my daughter in recovery had a whole surrounding of people that took, so you know how like if I'm mad at you, but my friends are mad at you too? You know, that codependency, dysfunctional crap? So she's in recovery, she shares about her childhood, and they have an attitude because big bad, you know, this old timer bonding, now we got the goods on you, so we're gonna shred you, and we're gonna blackball you, and I had no support of the fellowship. And I have a 10-month-old, and I have to work. And people just snubbed me, and I would go to meetings, and I mean, I was just like, I was lost. I was really lost. And I can make a statement that I still feel true about. It's a horrible thing to hold the doors open, sit with some IPs and a white book, waiting for addicts to show up. And then 30 years later, when you need the fellowship the most in your home area, that they have an attitude of indifference because of something that happened in somebody's childhood. It's none of their business. You hear that? Yeah. So we'll have Bella, that's her name, and Bella and I navigated this thing called life. Okay, me and her. And I surrender to the fact that she's mine and I'm gonna raise her. Why am I gonna raise her? Because I had my sponsor at the time saying, you don't have to do this. This is your choice. You know, you're feeling this way because you made this choice. There was no choice. This was my blood. There was no foster people raising her. I heard enough footsteps about what happens in foster families. There are probably some good ones, but there's a lot of horrible ones, okay? And that was not happening with this little baby. So here's me and Bella, you know. Now I gotta tell you that both my daughters have told me what it was like to grow up in the rooms. They hear the stuff that we talk about and laugh about, and it's morbid, the stuff that we laugh about, but it's our identification, and they thought it must be cool, so they tried doing it. I heard that. Bella doesn't need to be in the meeting at 8 o'clock in the corner when she needs to be in bed sleeping. So I had to make some sacrifices, and they are sacrifices, and I had to make some decisions. And so Bella's in bed at 8 o'clock at night. she has her belly full at 6, hopefully at 6:30. And it's not always a cooked meal. Sometimes we do fast food, which is a big no-no in my life. But I've had to make some concessions. You know, I have my own business. I've had my own business for 15 years. And I do what my clients dictate. They're pretty much their schedule in order to put food on the table. And I will tell you that after having her for 8 years and navigating this thing called life and recovery with a child, I'm 65, I have an 8-year-old. My likelihood of having a relationship for 5 or 10 or 15 years is probably not there. I don't know too many men in these rooms that would even step to the plate to deal with us. And that's sad, you know? I know I have this goddess body and all this pound on me, but I still think I'm a pretty attractive woman, and I'm a lot of fun, and, you know, I am fun, you know, and I'm in recovery, and I'm a pretty tough cookie, and I take care of my own business, so I don't need you to fix me, but I don't too many men that would come in and step to the plate. So it's me and Bella, and I've made that sacrifice. And if God has another plan for me, it will be somebody that knocks me over the head and says, I'm here for you and Bella. So, you know, now I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and I do all these things, and I've gone down to 1 meeting a week. And I've been judged for that too, because I hear the sayings, you know, meeting makers make it. And if you're not going to X amount of meetings, like, you must be a loser. Please don't say that. I am not a loser. I'm far from a loser. You want me to be at 5 meetings a week or 3 meetings a week or one more than I do? Well, you come and sit over there, because I want to see you with Bella, because nobody, I don't trust too many people. Only because I've heard too many of your steps. Okay? So I need to know who is spending time with her. All right? And let me be at a meeting, because I'd gladly go, you know, or let me have a camera at home so I can see what's going on. I'm sorry, I'm there. I'm there. I am a grandma bear, you know. And so, you know, things have changed. I thought I could be my gypsy, free, wild Bonnie at this time of my age. You know, I thought I could go to campouts and travel and, you know, on the weekends do this and that. It's changed. Do I resent it sometimes? You betcha. That's the honest to gosh truth. I'll share my feelings, yes. I thought I was going to have to bring her to this convention. I would have. She would have been with her headsets on in the corner, you know, so that I could get a weekend in. She knows the women that I sponsor and that are my friends and the men, you know. She knows them. They know her. You know, they help out. You know, but these are women that in Florida, in the middle of the state, Chapel Hill, you know, my support system is outside of my immediate area now. So check it out. So the result, some of the issues that I had with my daughters, some of the shortcomings that came up, I got to build my character. Because it does say that in the 6th step, but I don't know if people really get that aspect of it. I got to build a better character so that I don't put that back on Bella. I'm not doing it a second time around. And so Bella gives me, God talks through Bella, okay? God talks through Bella. And so, so what happens is we get up in the morning, right? So I get my half hour of, you know, whatever I read in my meditation and stuff, and drink my coffee and do whatever I do for that half hour, because that's only my own time in the morning. The rest is like I'm working, and then I pick her up and we go to the later part of the day. And so she likes to sleep in. She doesn't want to get up. I'll get up. Good morning, little sunshine. You brighten up my day. Come on, Bella, get up. Bella, get up! We gotta go! You know? Oh, she's stretching. I walk away. I walk away, you know, and I come back, and, you know, she's spacing out. And I tell her, Bella, come on, we gotta go. Omi, do you know when you yell at me, I cannot hear you? I try really hard not to raise my voice. Because when we yell at any of us, we don't hear. Right? Yeah. That's my girl. Do you know that she made the moon? Bella made the moon. She says, Omi, I got this light and I put it in the oven and I opened the oven up and it jumped into the sky. I get to be there. I'm not going to endorse this, but there's a character that's in books, so I'm endorsing it. Juna B. Jones. That's my girl, Bella. If you ever have a chance, look up Juna B. Jones. She's one of us, and she's really cool. So Bella's she is my fountain of youth. She is my sunshine. She is my little partner. She sometimes gets her feelings hurt and she cries for her mother. I cried for my mom too at the end. You know, I just wanted to go back to my mother's arms and have her hold me and tell me that everything was going to be okay and love me. I tell Bella, I love your mommy too, and I miss her, and we pray for her, you know, and we hope that she makes it, because I don't want to be part of that club, you know. Her kids will be devastated. We know that. So I just comfort Bella, and I give her as much love that I can pray into my being to change the shortcomings that I have from my own past and my childhood. I'm pretty good with my past, not defining my present today. I've been forced to do that. Life in these rooms have forced me to change because I hit some serious bottoms. And but my present right now, Bella and I are good. I'm thinking about taking her to Egypt. Who knows? You know, there's a lot of other things that are going on that I don't know if I want to take her out of the country or even have her here. I've even considered but I have to check my fear at the door and just have faith. So raising a grandchild at this age in recovery, I'm tired. You know, I'm tired at the end of the day. You know, but we read books and we laugh and she snuggles and her tenacity, I'm present for her. I never had anybody present for me. And so if I want presence in my life, I have to be present for her. And I get it. I've gotten a second chance. She knows who her mom is. I don't take the replace of her mom. I'm her grandma. I'm her Omi, but I'm raising her. You know, and I know if her mom gets clean, you know, or when her mother gets clean, you know, and does the right thing for a certain amount of time, she's going to want to be with her mom. And I'm going to be heartbroken, but it's going to be a joyous day because children need to be with their parents. You know I'm secondary. I'm just Omi, you know, and so I think about that, like how will I handle that? And but you know what, just for today, she's got a soccer game at 1:30 today. She's with her best friend from 18 months when she was in preschool. And I trust this couple. They're really cool. I have most of my friends I've met in Asheville are non-addicts, so I've gotten to acclimate into society, not just our society, and show up on a different way of not always identifying as an addict, but being grateful for what I have and who I am and how I can help. But my service work today isn't sitting with 5 pamphlets and the white book and waiting for addicts to come through the door. My service today is to raise a good human because of Narcotics Anonymous, you know, and I am forever grateful for that. It's given me an opportunity, you know how like IONA, it's given me this level of giving that changes the world. And I want to, one of the things that I share, and I don't know who needs this in this room today, but any one of us or all of us right now has changed the world. A recovering addict is the most powerful being in helping this epidemic that we have, the disease of addiction. I have an opportunity to raise a different being, okay, hopefully plant seeds, but we have already changed the world because we're clean today. And if you haven't heard that and what I just shared, please listen again. We have changed the world. I don't care how depressed you are or sad or what kind of spot you're in. I am always grateful that I'm clean another day and I have another chance to carry the message. Because that's our hope. Thanks for letting me share. Yeah.
Thank both of our speakers for sharing. Another round of applause for both. Just a reminder, the clean time sheets up here. I'm trying to add up all the clean time in the event. If you haven't signed one of those already, come and do that. Let's go ahead and circle up and close.
Yeah.
Watch out for the truck car.
Okay.
Yeah, I am. Donnie, you want to take us home?
Sure. Thank you all for being here. I'm really grateful and really good share this morning. Tell them the signs for the addict who still suffers. Many of us have said,
take my will in my life, guide me in my recovery, show me how to live.
Please. He's going back.
yeah,
I'm going to change your
feel
life.
like
Get ready.
Yeah.
I watched a lot of YouTube and Netflix. They're excellent.
You know.
Episodes.
Yes, right now.
Oh my God, I do not know how to do that. I can get my phone out.
How you doing? I'm Tony.
I can get my phone out.
Really nice to meet you.
Maybe
Where are
there's
you
a
from?
thing on it.
Yeah, I can't.
Yeah, sign that thing. I haven't done that yet.
The last one I talked to you. With Bill, I think, a copy.
My clean time countdown.
Now I got
It's the, but a guy does.
His goes from here to here. Unless he is kind of a caregiver, in which case it goes.
Okay, so I got, that's my feminine side.
So we have emotions. I remember that was
Right.
awesome. I seen women who get, with the water get home.
Yeah.
So I tell them to figure
I
it
caught
out.
myself doing that a lot.
You ever heard of it?
No, I haven't. That's interesting. Ridiculous.
Yeah, it seems really
Right.
close.
Oh, they, in the babies thing, had a gay couple. And
Isn't
they-
it this month?
Yeah. And
11 months,
the
yeah.
caregiver
Wouldn't it be-
Is a big one.
Wow, that's interesting.
That is.
Yeah, I guess that's right.
Logical.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's perfect.
I can see how it's different than
But I was
the
always
provider,
bad at
the
math.
caregiver, like the difference
I
between.
was always
When you have
bad
a
at
kid
math.
with you, you're constantly
Right.
aware of one or more children, just all the time.
So that would be,
I remember when I got my kids back.
mine be 11 months and then 22 days, just like you.
And,
If you're the 23rd,
the first 24 hours, I had kind of forgotten, but suddenly I was, the kids were.
So it's next month.
March now.
You know what I didn't share?
Oh, I
Like,
know.
for
Oh,
example,
yeah.
the early stages of me having, you know,
13 days from now.
custody of the primary.
I need to get
It
this
was
out.
so bumpy. Literally, a couple of months ago. I practiced on the
4 and 5
I don't know if I can do this. The question, and I remember calling my sponsor, I said, well, man, I'm here. And he's laughing. I said, what are you laughing at? I said, no, I just wanted custody. Right.
How many years, months, days since the
They kind of like keep a, you know, kind of a.
how many years, months, days since
Some guys don't have it.
Yeah,
Yeah, a little bit.
30.
He still has a
It's different relationships.
Oh, it's, yeah, so it's 10 months, 13 days.
It was 90 though.
I always wear anonymous anymore. That's why I put my.
A lot I didn't share because I didn't want to take up all the time, but there's just so much involved in raising a kid. Evidently, you know, especially I know my daughter.
Well, it's like.
7-Eleven,
you have
good to
apartment
see you,
in
nice
your
to meet you,
mind.
I'll see you
It's
around.
just there.
I remember you got there were some younger people there. They used to say to me, "You always share with your kids." What do you mean? That's where my consume. That's my responsibility. And then all of a sudden later, they became parents, and that's all you hear about is their kids.
Yeah, good stuff. Now you know.
Yeah, right.
So life will change, right?
Yep. Thank
Very
you.
cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great job.
Thank you. You too.
You'd be a yaya if you were Greek. You'd be a
Yeah.
yaya.
Yeah, okay.
You're doing great.
See, I'm a papa.
Well, we're getting on.
All my kids call me
Huh?
papa.
We're doing something. Yeah, I was worried. This seems
I
to
didn't
be
know it was gonna be
a
enough.
little
When
kick.
I was in massage school.
That's
I don't care.
One of the women came in one day and.
You mean
said,
sideways?
Yeah.
I'm worried about, I'm worried about the tape,
Hey!
you know, when you watch it on YouTube and look, the speaker's like.
So everybody will be watching it like this. It'll be okay.
Back there.
We have more control than we think we have.
Yes, that's fine. You just didn't know.
I know, I guess
I needed to catch up on dad's sleep, I guess.
You got allergies? But yeah, I didn't know.
Second hand, hug, redhead.
Okay. Woo. Okay, clap it.
I love that.
I do too.
I always keep feta. I always have feta and calamari
Yeah.
rolls in my house.
Where you living now? Really?
So good.
I see him.
I'm sorry. Just trying
You
to
gotta go to bed.
calculate. You have one of these?
Yeah.
See, this is our area website. We have the clean time. So go ahead. And so, thank you very much. I'm glad everyone stuck around. I know evidently we weren't as funny as they got. I didn't know there was a comedy show.
Hey, Chester, third party, you know, built me $220,000 house. And instead, I just showed.
I talked to Chucky for a long time. He called me and said,
To be close to that.
Did you get the whole 220 though?
so he told me,
No.
maybe
I lost about $100,000.
well, it didn't really say anything, but I didn't say anything.
But I want to be close to my family. Be a half an hour drive, 45 minutes.
You may want to work.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Right,
As
exactly.
far as I'm going.
See, Atlanta's here.
But I need to do my part to police officer.
Fairly, right now,
Or bill.
burnt down.
I need a renter or something, because it's tight. Too far and
I
too
do.
This is
close.
about a baby there. Look at it. 31 years. I'm the baby in this. Except for someone that had
right in the beginning, it was too broad. Well,
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for being here.
she comes
I
to
pray
me,
to God, you know, she's talking about.
Oh, me too.
these other people.
Yeah, I know. Like Vito's in our area, so I see Vito. It's one thing we know is certain. You're never gonna catch up with Vito.
Like, why are you so, it's not that about what we
Tell them both
want
that
that.
time.
You gotta go, take initiative.
So, it's, you know,
I have
I don't know,
feelings.
2,000, 3,000.
If I approach her,
Already,
I
basically, running over the tool well,
it's not time. For me, I'm not at the point where I would say something stupid.
the
I'm
motor.
not about saying stupid shit, it's about why, and I know why she's doing it. I'm not stupid.
Well, it's not
I've done it.
I know.
But it's before the cold weather.
Yeah, just make your amends.
Get that quote.
That's the rest of it.
Well, the amendment would make that 20 years ago. I know the other people do it once every 5 years.
Big steel motor,
That's
that's,
an amendment. I
you
know.
know, when you own a house, you just.
Well,
Yeah.
gotcha. Yeah.
The roof is
I know that. Well, it's time. I mean,
It's fine, to do it.
well, it was too raw in the beginning.
Pictures of her
If I wait too long,
It's got to be
Zero.
fine, show you pictures of her house.
right now, so I'll get
Andy's
as
house.
soon as I get home.
I haven't been there.
Beautiful. Because she didn't, that no one deserves what I put out. Because I not only screamed at her to shut
You know, I'm involved with this,
this, and that was that, if she didn't feel fear from that in the car,
Right, exactly. She was scared
I
of that.
remember.
And you
That's-
cannot, wait, you're not, listen, the way she perceived that
Petition.
is the way she perceived it. And if you're, if the amends, okay, or the apologize, I don't know if the other person will respond, but sometimes we have to be open to hear how they perceive what we say and how we did it. And it doesn't mean that we have to pick it up and run with it. You don't have to believe how they perceive it.
I mean,
You yell at little kids, they're scared to death, and we tell them, right?
No.
Don't do this.
No.
And-
I need to be willing to listen, if there's an error, I got you.
Yeah.
I'm not close-minded.
You
I
know,
have
one
a
of
good
the
luxury in my life.
copy bags.
Anyway,
We just do a march out.
Yeah. I needed to sit in so that the rawness will raw.
Well, I can tell you that,
It's 20, 30 people, it's just as good as
she's
children.
traumatized.
Oh, okay, I get it.
Like,
I mean, we need to break the ice, you know.
you know,
We've grown enough, we've got enough.
I heard you, I heard exactly what I needed when I walked through this door. When I yell, when people yell, I don't hear.
That's basically.
She didn't hear me.
you know, so,
That'd be
what it
so,
does,
And it
man.
just felt extremely threatening that locks this thing big. So, 70 miles an hour. You got my picture of it. I didn't put it on. Okay.
it's,
Yeah, step gas, my God.
yeah.
24 hours.
After all the years of
And you're right,
training,
that's what it
experience,
is. But
mistakes,
her-
things, you know. we
and I'm not
have
saying that
never
for
had
her,
to
I'm
do.
just saying, listen, when certain things happen to me in my life, and whatever the other person.
Maybe you, behind the scenes, several
But the
people,
way I
who
perceive
solved
it
the
was the
problem.
way,
But
because you have thought
fellowships
cabinets, and
didn't
those thought cabinets
really get it.
are
So
passed.
when they voted in the
Show up,
concept,
like,
good
you could,
example, they all thought they were
And,
shit.
and so that's why
Well,
it's
the new
important.
trust world service.
I know that. I told you that when I talked to you.
They're trustworthy.
Oh, I was at a meeting the other
Now
night.
it's time.
Full number of
As
cars.
soon as I get home, so,
They're all raising their hand, yes, and
and I'm willing to let her call me up straight over.
They don't.
That's what she needs to do to get it out.
That's
I don't care.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna talk.
You
I
know.
won't yell back, I'm done with
I
that.
got it across the bottom that, fellowship does not
She
know
wants to yell at
the
me.
difference
She can
between
yell
a
at me.
trustee or a trustee.
Well, you
If
know,
that's what helps her with
put
her
that in your
process. I don't
letter.
care. Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yes, you did.
Put that in my letter.
For
You
your
hear that?
senior.
I said, I pay you about petitions, tell me.
I gotta go do this. Thank you for your time.
Uniform, none of them know the difference between trustee and trustee. So, the fellowship the management system is practice man control and population, and they chiseled it down to where the trustor doesn't even know, they think WSO is NA, and they wrote the basic text, and our job is to do whatever they tell us to do. So they have absolutely fucked up. But God does that every year. Everything on the planet just goes. And then, when the time is right, it bubbles up again. So, God takes care of it. And the new generation, they're gonna love being in charge. Just wait till they get a taste of that one, and then go for more. And poor old WSO, no, you can't, I mean, that's what's gonna go down. And, we can easily do a march during the WSC. And so if they're on the floor and they're like that smug WSO, we'll do the thinking for the fellowship business. And it's like, you mean right now? Because they've never had to deal with that. They were always invisible, and they could oversee meetings, they could say, you have to do this. That stuff's illegal, and they just had full sway. This event pumped out 35 stories on fucking YouTube from last year. This year, we'll make another 50. And so people in Bangkok or wherever, they can get the real recording. Because English is the lingua franca. But my website, narwhal.org, goes out for free 3 digital downloads, traditional wars, and they were lifelong. And pick your language. In 103 languages. Wow. And they were lifebook. 103 is a large number of languages. No cost.
So who did the NA Way of Life Steps and Traditions?
When did it what?
Who's doing the NA Way of Life Steps and Traditions?
Huh?
Steps and Traditions. Have you seen that?
The NA Way of Life?
Steps and Traditions.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, no concept.
No, yeah. Hold on. Who wrote it?
So anyway, that's why when people ask me how I'm doing, I do things. It's just, my biggest dream right now is to finish my autobiography and help 100 members do their autobiography. You want me to give you a thumbnail sketch of how to do it? This is what I did. I did my memories.
Yeah.
Then that kind of congealed, and I tried to kind of get them in order. And I got up a couple hundred pages, Was that kind of a dawned on me? I bet I could something for the first time. Left home, lived in Andes for 9 months. I mean, just on and on. 41 places. So every memory that I have, any memory, good, bad, or memory, relates to one of those 41 places. So it's real easy to take all the things that happened in Miami and put them in one shot. Right? And it doesn't matter the sequence within that location. As long as you get them all in there, then the important thing is going to be covered and it's going to be a certain location. The case of focus is there. It's a sorting machine, a mental. It's an equipment. So I can sit down with you or anybody in the world and say, can you talk a little bit about where you live? Where did you live in your faith? Where did you live in your economics? And they just keep going. Pretty soon they can organize their whole life. And then the rest from a literary creation standpoint, dialogue.
You give them the business?
Dialogue.
What? You
characterization,
Oh,
parent, suggestion.
oh, you heard his side?
No, I
already did.
Whatever they, what business you in. That's true story that these two, not like this speaker, like Bobby said. That, you know, this was life, then drugs, and then you found the program. And see the general public
That's a girl's doing him, maybe, comes over my house.
has not reacted to the third stage of addicts. It's either you're not an addict or you are an addict. There's nothing else.
That is cute.
But we put the X factor.
What a fun.
Redesigning.
Yeah, I see all of
What?
I don't see Abel, yeah, I don't see Bonnie. Oh, no. He's straight there. Yeah. Oh, he's like.
Addiction has to do with the person being in an untenable situation. They can't get a job, they can't go get it, they wouldn't talk things about their parents.
Is this the implementation?
You know,
Jason Liz.
And Judy, did you meet Judy yet?
No.
I said, Judy, these are two of my girls in North Carolina.
Maybe anybody upstairs.
Oh, I've seen you on Facebook.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Judy Miller.
I do know it.
girl gang. But,
That's where you're always at. I knew if I found them, I'd find you.
huh? Yeah, there you go. There you go. There's old Bo.
There's old Bob, sitting on the floor somewhere.
But, so I think that's a dream because, it can be realized in this lifetime. And it's the kind of thing, once your friends start doing it, you want to do it.
Right.
And it really, it'll help people with their fourth step.
Right.
And eighth step.
It breaks it down. Right.
Well, they can focus better,
Exactly.
you know, instead of this, they can focus better.
Yeah.
And, so it's good for the individual, but it's also good for our addict and recovery population. And one thing that I'm grateful to be able to share about is my experiences going to England about 8 or 10 years ago, maybe more. But, and then in 2018, I went to Oman, on the Indian Ocean, 2 weeks. And on the flight back, I saw Moscow. So in May, I went for 3 weeks. And I told the story 19 times in 21 days.
How's the translation there?
Huh?
A lot of English there?
No, I had a translator, Levant's my best buddy.
Have you talked to Richie at all?
Huh?
Richie in South Africa.
I'm
The beard,
friends
with the beard.
Yeah, I'm good friends with Richie.
Is that where he's at? No, that's not our Richie.
Yeah.
He's in South Africa?
Perhaps.
No, he has an apartment in Vancouver and Nairobi.
In Nairobi, that's right.
And he
goes back and forth.
married,
I
he
keep telling you
married
that.
a
Had a New York flight from the internet and just spent a couple of days in New York and I'll shoot down. He messages me all the time.
Oh, I'm not friends with him. On Facebook?
KRUSE is the
yeah,
It's
Richie
Richie.
K.A.Y.
Oh.
He's the one that invented the flat book.
Richie.
Invented the Bible. What's his last name?
But for prisoners, because they could read the basic text line by line.
Oh, yeah.
It lays out flat.
You see, what he says in platform, we,
It's not the same
what's
thing.
his, what's his name?
I mean, I don't know, maybe there's a dozen people doing it today, but for a while, he was the only one.
There he is.
It took a long time.
Oh, cool. Do you know Tom from Florida, Hollywood Tom, was his sponsor, because he lived up there. Yeah, I told you already, and he told
He
you.
came to school here.
Yeah, had showed up in the meeting. I was like, wow.
You remember going to the mountain with him, right? When that Atlanta World,
Very much so.
me, you, Bonnie, him.
Yeah, I had that great band.
Oh, no, that was Chris from South
I thought
Africa,
like
right?
9 people.
No, 7. There was only room for 7. There was only room for 7. You said it.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. And, but it was full.
It was full, that was it.
And when you run around curves, you can,
Well, the funny part was, because I met him coming into my hotel 2 days prior. I met Richie.
listen, see, I'm on with you.
You're interrupted.
I'm not gonna go out here.
Yep. Are you familiar with that?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna send, okay, since he sent me the photo, I'm gonna ask him how this came about.
What the hell was that? You didn't do that. Because they're all in your, they're all in. Yes, maybe, you know what they probably do? They probably just cut his 12 and his 12 out of, anyway, like,
See, my,
Dirty
and
hand.
they wear life.org website's back up.
now it's for full meeting.
Go to NAWL.
You just separated it out.
So,
No, it's not.
Why don't you come up this spring or summer?
control, our force.
I want to make sure I have too much breakfast. Is that right?
But, enjoy. Yeah, LA.
But it'll be what, 45? Kentucky?
They rushed to have a trade, they paid $26 for that phone. Flyer's beautiful, but they have to do a black and white version. Color was just, they got about 250. Yeah, I'm real close to him.
He told me to say hello. He told me to say hello.
Yeah, but he has that illness.
Yeah,
And Camilla's visited.
he has a bunch of stuff on his
Huh?
She has a bunch of stuff on her back.
Oh, really?
Chubb?
Oh, he does have a force. And he's one of the original local lit guys.
I like him.
He remembers that.
Very quiet.
He said he talked to you, he's got this wood cover book, it's a great one. You know what I'm talking about?
He knows that I had used Ray Book.
She did.
Ray Book. But then all the stories and
You didn't bring any books?
Huh?
You didn't bring any books?
I don't want to see it. Well, I want to see it. And I've got, I just ordered. When the book sells, I get my money back.
So you just did another grade one with the stories in it, all the stories in it? Who has it? So we can order it? We can order it next one. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Think the papers.
I know. Yep.
And it's pre-digital download. Excited to me because the WSO used to have us right up front, okay?
Well, you don't have to talk to me
And
about that.
now we can, we're, the book's available in 103 languages. Yeah.
No, that's not back to the basics, that's back to the grade.
Oh, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Antoinette, I gave Antoinette direction to do some step work, and that's what she came out with.
Well,
But she's a brilliant mind, Antoinette. Antoinette is like, as far as writing steps and traditions in the format that she puts them, you can have it if you want. Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Well, this is a good example. That's what my job is. I will scan the whole population. And then if there's anything totally undone, that's really what I do. That's all I do. And then if there's anything undone, somebody has some work to do, I'll support it. That's easy. And then if things are not done, that's what I work on.
How many years later, you just sit there.
Ready? They all look, I take three, they all look the same. You pick which one you like better.
Well, the one from Naples,
I want one of those.
From Naples. Remember when you came, you brought Dad into my house and we cooked?
Can you send that to me? Look, this is my birthday again, 11/23/44.
Still the same 404-312-5166. Still the same number? 412-5166.
Let me have anything.
Oh,
Treasury.
yeah, we do it. Her and Jason from California are doing YouTube to explain to people how to do this.
Okay.
So, you're on top, yeah, she's on fire right now.
That's service career is about the first strike money and then it becomes like
Bo was looking up at her, it was after she shared, and Bo was looking up at her, and she was standing in the chair. Did you see that picture? Let me see.
Bonnie, look, there's two basically orders that came in.
No.
I didn't get any for 3 or 4 days, and it kind of worried me, but now I've got flashbacks.
What do you have?
I gotta eat soon.
I mean, oh, right. Oh,
So
wow.
I might join you then.
We're gonna take pictures. You know what? You remember that and stuff? You remember that?
Yeah.
That's Antoinette, after she was from there last year, and you were talking to her about that.
I hugged her yesterday, didn't I? Oh, okay.
It's Antoinette. She took that.
Antoinette.
It's in back in the
Antoinette, I like it.
I remember when she stayed at my house.
I like it.
Yeah, she,
Anyhow, she wrote down that they, people came Greg wrote, because they want to quote from them on it, put Greg on it, but she's the one that wrote it. And Wilson and I did it all, because she didn't let me have it, because I don't know. So I gave her, I said, you know what, there's an assignment, like a fresh letter with the steps, why don't you take that? And read the grade one, and what the steps are to do. After the grade. Yeah. How many?
Let me prognosticate.
250.
You?
How many?
You?
Yeah. Hey, listen, buddy, you need to hear this too.
Okay.
I think, but you know, I've done a lot of structural work for fellowship.
Yes.
I had 2 visions that are gonna happen or some close to this. What we need is to sign this petition, support this one, but
you know, in this
you're
group,
gonna keep
I'll just read them.
after this, April 8th. So we'll do the best we can at petition, and then WSO, 2 weeks later, it's not flat, all the things pay the freight tax to see, we can meet every month for the rest of all time. That'll be necessary. So there'll be reformation within the so-called service structure, go back. sharing ideas. Then, go back to, DNA, and the officers will, they'll either be paid, they're gonna get their ass kicked hard. But the federal
It's
government
been a
doesn't
long
know
time
yet.
coming.
This is
They
hard.
overstepped the boundaries. They have power that they use. And they can be just as bad as so or worse, much worse. So it's going to require, and I may be one of the few members of the group that require, no, and they stabilize the system. And it's not no voting, motions, or anything like that. But we're the ones who protect our language and our innate common views. We are the only hedge against money dives and recovery and drug replacement therapy and similar things. I agree with you. I think if we don't make a stand, that all of us,
You
in the
gotta
next
have,
5 years.
you gotta have,
Yeah.
there are other members, there are a lot of other members that have a house and money. Those are the people, those are the people that can stabilize narcotics. Because they do it anyway.
I think if we don't, we're gonna be sitting next to people that are not clean and are able to say they're clean because the office is so
Well,
not
this is-
clean.
Yeah, they're like, that's what their big thing is.
Yeah,
They're
Mama, I
robbing
showed you that. in the book.
everybody's, yeah.
Because
How
they're no longer
many years
according
have they
to
had?
according.
Listen, we just worried to all of them. Listen to this story. So Dawn and I are at a convention in Asheville, right? And I said, Dawn, have you, she says, oh, they opened 6th edition up. I said, Jen, have you looked at it? She's like, no. I said, wait till you check this out.
Yeah, why would you look at it?
Well, because we have 1st edition.
Yeah, yeah.
I
No,
think you have to look
I
at
have my
it.
third edition.
Yeah.
Well,
Right, so
Hey.
hold on a minute. So I turned the page in the back and I said, check this out. So there's illegal drugs on the very next page, there's drug reports, DRT. She's like, what the fuck?
In the
So then I walk over to the dude and he's like, do you want to buy it? And I said, no, but I had a problem with the cost. How much was it?
It's expensive.
$13.50 or something.
No.
Like 16 or
Yes.
$18.
Oh,
Yeah.
my
This is
God.
in our region. Carolina region? When they that office fell apart.
Oh,
Did
Carolina.
they support it?
Yes. So it was the anniversary edition? Is that
No,
what
no,
it's called?
it's
Regular
regular.
edition.
Wow, troublemakers wherever we go, right? So I said to the guy, why the markup? And he says, it's for travel expenses. I said, what? Travel expenses? I said, so let me get this straight. How does that work into this price? Because like when you go, where are you from? I can't remember where that Florida region office was. Where was it? It was on the borderline of South Carolina and North Carolina.
You mean a freight officer?
No,
The Carolina Regional Office.
was it
Fort Mill.
Where's that at?
South Carolina.
Okay, so, I said, you need to tell me when you get from there to here, that's your expenses, oh, and going back. When do you, like, how does that come into play? When do you deduct the price of the book? He just like.
That's like you were nuts.
Yeah, it was like that was way back.
Yeah,
Already.
But before that, there's a 400, but before that, there's a 400% markup. That's why it's $13. So then they jacked it up even more.
Yeah, yeah, we see more, yeah.
Yeah.
Making a profit, where he's like schlepping it.
Yeah, you know what, did you eat? Where are you going?
You're right.
Okay.
Shut up, she wants to drink espresso.
He just scared the shit out of me. I'm like, "Keep it down."
We're in it. We're in it. It's happening.
It's happening.
You know, right, yeah. There's more people. It's growing. Let's go. Yeah. Oh, you ain't
free meetings.
Okay, no, okay, I'll make sure we.
All right, that way.
There is, like, stars from the Christmas here.
I was just listening to
You get people to leave the church. Yes.
I know that part of the reason for that.
Read this. Then you do this. Yeah.
That
Not because somebody that's going to want.
Yeah, everyone's reading on the thing. If it's introducing me, and art is reading, art, he comes. Then, Eric and on.
And I know that we are. Leave your kids home.
You need experience. I got 20 my strangers at the Wi-Fi is mine, double tap, and I'm not. At the mic. Testing, testing. Testing, testing. I speak. Hear that? That's all enough for you. Art is Look, it's recording to be like. I think Steve was the one that we had the issue with.
So where'd you remember you walked out with it? You have it in your hand when you walked out?
They were going to, and they went in out.
Walked out of here.
Wait, what about the wire?
I'm sorry, man. I can't tell.
Yeah, that's where I got
Oh, really? That's the guy. That's right. That's. Speak up.
No, I protect quite well. No,
Absolutely, sir. In some ways, you have to work on it. What is that? Here. I'm getting it, though. Yeah.
Oh, you're born 66. Yeah. Few weeks.
First thing I'm gonna do is all right, I want to remind everybody, the raffle tickets are being sold at the front table. We have 5 items, one will be a nice jacket, donated by one of the vendors. We got a really cool, pack,
name holders, they're dollar fee, so stop by the desk to grab the ticket. The drawing will be at 8 o'clock tonight. Parking passes also, we just got to park for $5, those are at the front table, please see a committee member. All speakers start our registration table, and favorite song, we played at the dance tonight. Please hear our 11th edition of anonymity. You're not going to take pictures of the meeting. Registrations will be available Saturday night, Sunday, hospitality is now in 1502, they're at 1502 is hospitality. No, they do, so they're heavily from, but now 1502, we're outside. And 1502. All right. Three, okay. NAC Recruiter Fest, and sponsored by the Westwood Area Narcotics Now. Welcome you for our second annual Narcotics Recruiter Fest. We thank you very much, appreciate it. The purpose of the Recruiter Fest, to honor and thank the longtime members for their service, history, and knowledge. Often overlooked and underappreciated, the experience of a long time. They're an invaluable asset in the world. They have nothing to others to get in and they live with being in the group. They're eager to share the principles with whoever seeks them. Please take this moment to say thank you to them for what they give us an opportunity to fellowship and learn from their responsibility. Our personal conduct is a great reflection of narcotics. Administrative personal responsibility is a great positive images of our fellowship. Our conduct is the first and last impression that the public will have. If unable to know yourself responsibly when we have to leave, not everyone stays up all night. So please keep the doors open in the hallway and during the hours of 11 p.m. to 8 a.m.